going on YouTube? ML Spanky here. If you noticed that normally I do my videos, I don't have a background or anything, but I watched a Netflix show recently called Maniac, and to give you a short summary of it, there's this like supercomputer machine, and basically you take these three pills, and after you take the three pills, if everything works out, get over your traumas or whatever. So like the A pill is like the worst day of your life, right? And then the B pill is a bunch of simulations of like different lives, and then the C pill is confrontation, which is where you would um say your goodbyes, let that thing go, or whatever it may be holding you back. Now you may ask, why does this relate to why is it so hard to stay sober? Well, when I watched that show, one of the first things I thought of is if I could take the A pill, I'd take it for the rest of my life. It should be the day I lost the girl in both of these pictures. Reason my name changed. If you've seen my videos before, you know I used to go by LL Spanky, and ML is her initials. Um, and realizing that I would relive the worst day of my life on repeat if I could made me realize how lost I truly am, and I feel most others are as well. Um, and that's what makes being sober so difficult is at the end of the day purpose, meaning, you know. I mean, for some of us, that's when you look at a lot of Christians, a lot of them who are like super into their religion, they are 100% sober. That's because God gives them meaning. And I'm not saying that'll work for everyone, and I'm not going to be a hypocrite and give advice to something that hasn't worked for me. So I don't know what the magical answer is. The easiest time in my life for me to stay sober is when that person was still alive in those pictures. Marissa was the most. Not only was she the prettiest girl that I ever met, I've ever been with, but she had a soul that just shined so bright, and she was so wonderful, and she was the closest thing to perfection that existed. So being sober became super easy to me. It got to the point where for the first time in my life it wasn't really that hard. There wasn't this crazy craving, there wasn't this need to be filled, because that void was filled. I'm not saying go find another person because I'm now more lost than I ever have been, and I'm choosing to stay sober simply off of her memory, but it is a lot harder than it ever has been before. All I want to do is shoot dope. I mean, it takes everything away. The point is like me realizing that I would want to relive the worst day of my life over and over again. It would be just to see her for you know, that hour during that day before I went home. I went to my dad's for Easter dinner. And, you know, it it made me realize that, we are all searching for some type of meaning or purpose or reason for existence. And I don't know if my pain can ever help anyone. I don't know if these videos will even ever have a point. I just know that I have to try something because I am deteriorating. Like, my body's gonna shut down eventually if I don't figure out a way to move forward with my life, which is a lot easier said than done when the most important person in your life is gone. Like, your reason for existence is gone. So that's why it's so hard to be sober. That's why no one really wants to be at the end of the day. Because, I mean, what happens when we use drugs? We kind of go into a fantasy world. Real life is a lot different than we were portrayed it as children. I mean, think about it. When you went to school and, you did all that shit, like, did you ever envision, like, what the real world was like? I mean, we weren't trained for it at all, like, there was no part that was like, hey, this is gonna happen, and, like, you gotta go out and do this, or you gotta go out and do this, or, like, this is where you're meant to go, or, like, this is what you're meant to do with your life. There was no direction. Like, school was honestly, at least besides like the basics that you need to learn, like, like numbers, like, how to fucking add, I guess, and count and speak the alphabet and write and shit. Like, it was all pointless. Like, 90% of the shit we learned in high school, besides history, we'll never use in our life. And the only reason history is good to know is so we don't repeat it. Addiction is something that will follow us no matter what. When you get clean, it doesn't matter how long. Chances are that you'll I'm not saying that you can't just one day stop and never go back because it has happened. I mean, there are people who do that. And like so far so good for me, right? But at the end of the day, there could easily be all it takes is something to break me, you know, break my existence. And realizing that I'd rather live the worst day of my life than live in the real world really put things into perspective for me and made me see that I am failing at life. And I think that's what makes being sober so hard is like when we were younger, we had these aspirations or dreams or points, right? And like somewhere along the way, we lost it. There are a few exceptions to this rule. There are some people who do not do drugs who got addicted because they got back surgery and they're in back pain and that's how they got addicted to opiates. There are those people, but there's a lot of us out there who, when we experienced it, we experienced bliss. We experienced everything just poof, gone. And being sober, you have to deal with all that shit. And like, you don't even really, I mean, you do and you don't, right? Because like, I haven't dealt with Marissa's death. I'm not even fucking close to being okay. You know, I can barely eat. I barely sleep. I barely function. You know, thank God that I have a father who like really, really loves me a lot and is just taking care of me because I can't take care of myself. Um, yeah, and I shouldn't be, you know, at my age living with my parents. It's like quite pathetic, right? But the ultimate point is that we're all human beings, right? And if you know going to a safe place for a while, or if you have that option to isolate yourself and just get out of that whole situation, because I'm going to tell you right now, like being sober requires you to let go of, for one, a lot of people who you think love you, and there may be a few that do. Like I still have, well, most of them are dead, but I did have a few friends who were still using that encouraged me to be sober. We never really hung out, but like we'd always call and talk, and we just didn't hang out because like I knew they were high and like I couldn't be around that. I could talk to them on the phone, I could tell them I miss them, and like we planned for shit, but like then the day would come and they'd be like, yeah, I'm rocks, like don't come, because like they did care about me. Unfortunately, you're gonna realize that most of those people that you think are your friends, they don't. They're gonna almost disapprove of your sobriety. They're definitely going to try to reel you back in. They're going to convince you there's no point, because no one wants to be in that state by themselves. That's why we use with people. It's because we're sad, they're sad, and then we don't have to feel so bad about what we're doing, right? Because it's like okay to that person. But yet, would you go shoot dope in front of your parents? Probably not, right? I mean, maybe you would, but like, I mean, like them sitting across from you and you're at the dinner table, or your grandparents, or anyone who loves you, like, would you do it directly in front of them? Sure, you may go hide in the bathroom or something like that, but my point is you wouldn't do that. Like, if they were standing in front of you right now, no matter how badly you wanted to get high, chances are you wouldn't, right? I mean, unless there was literally a rig and that was filled right in front of you, and it was sitting there, and it was within reaching distance, and you could just, it'd be pretty hard to say no to that, even if your parents were sitting there. But for the most part, right, we try to avoid the people we love, and it's very easy to lose track of yourself when you're in depths of addiction. And it's very easy for you to misunderstand people who love you for people who are like people who are against you. It's very easy to make yourself believe that. At one point, I thought for sure that my mother and father did not care about me, that they just, they didn't care if I lived or died, and they didn't like who I was as a person. I mean, I still question that sometimes, but you know, um, I battle, and the reason why I showed this, and because I think ultimately, no matter what, we use drugs to cope with something, whether it's severe trauma, light trauma, there's something inside of us that is eating us alive, you know. For me, when it was definitely like the world. I was beat down a lot. Um, when I didn't have the best like school life. I used to have a lazy eye, so like people, gave me a lot of shit at the end of the day. I mean, it is what it is, but like I had a lazy eye, so like I understand it because like if you ever see someone with a lazy eye, like imagine being a 5 or 6 year old and you see someone with like one eye off in the fucking space, it's like you're gonna laugh, you're gonna think it's funny, and naturally you're probably gonna pick on that kid. Like not on purpose, you're only 5, right? It took me a very long time to understand that. I'm not saying that's like completely why I use, but usually there's underlining reasons, right? And you got to get some help. Like before I talked about like things that like maybe you can do like at the end of the day if you ever really want true sobriety and for it to stay with you, you you have to beat those things. You have to go to counseling in depthly, not what they force you to do if you get on a program once a month. Like I go weekly and I went weekly even when I was with Marissa and I was doing real like I felt like I was on top of the world. I almost felt like I didn't need it, but there were still things that were going on in my day to day that I had to deal with, and then a lot of past shit, like a lot of past shit that I'm still unraveling, and I've been in counseling for fucking years. Okay, it's kind of sad, but there's a lot of shit that I never dealt with. I just stacked it. It's like your brain, right? It's here, and then you got all these problems, but just paint. Just paint over layer, 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 right? You get my point. It just keeps going. And all of those problems just stack. And they just keep stacking. And eventually you get to a point where you explode. And that's where you are now, right? Like, that's why you can't stop. That's why you won't stop. That's why the drug matters more than the girl, your parents, the whoever's in your life, right? Like, I was so mad at one of my exes because like she cheated on me, multiple times while I was using heroin. And I remember when my counselor said to me, like, you cheated on her with using dope. And it struck a chord. I was like, holy shit, like, you're not wrong at all. Like, you're 100% correct. Like, I chose that drug over her every day of my life. Obviously this wasn't Marissa. This was a fucking ex that didn't matter. Like Marissa was the girl I was supposed to marry, spend the rest of my life with, have kids with one day. Stuff that I never thought that I'd ever want to do. She gave me true purpose. And now I've lost that purpose. But I'm still holding on. But I'm going to be honest with you. If I didn't have sobriety before we met and I lost her, uh, I think I would have, we wouldn't be having this video right now. I think I'd already be dead. Um, so I wouldn't recommend finding purpose in another human being because you can never be guaranteed that they're going to make it through the day. But, there's some people who go with AA, there's some people who go with religion, there's some people who go with counseling. You got to find what works for you. That's the thing. That's what really sucks about this is there really isn't a one answer that fits all. But at the end of the day, there's always steps you can take and you got to look at progress, not oh shit, I fucked up. Like this is going to take a while. This is not I mean, for some people it is. Like for some people they just fucking stop and walk away, but usually you don't. Usually there's relapses, there's it's progress. It's all about progress. It's those little steps, like maybe it's I use less today or less than yesterday or maybe it's I haven't used in 4 days and then you slip up and then, you know, your next goal is 5. Your next goal is 6. But never beat yourself up for failing. Okay, because it does nothing but negative. Always find positives. Find ways to make your relapses and your using a reinforcement to go forward. We all fuck up. We all make mistakes. We all lose sight of what we're supposed to do or what we have. And it's very easy to lose sight of all that. Um, especially while you're using. And I I would love to fucking do heroin. Like there's every part of my being that wants to, but like I know how disappointed she would be that like that's what I do with my life. 'Cause that's how it would end. There's only three options for us: jails, deaths, and institutions. And you gotta find something, you know. And I don't know if my pain can resonate with anyone, but I hope it does because I need to find something now, right? Like, sure, I have sobriety, but I need to make it matter that I have sobriety now. Like, what the fuck's the point of being sober if you have no meaning? So I guess that's what it comes down to. Is we all have to have meaning. Whether, if you got strong Christian values and that's what you believe in, then go with that. If it's 90 meetings nonstop, AA, go with that. And always think about progress. You'll probably regress. You'll probably make mistakes along the way. That's why it's a road to recovery. It's not just recover. And never forget that you're a fucking addict. Never let that shit slip. All right? Always keep that at the front of your mind. Remember, it doesn't define you. Okay? Don't let it define you. But it is there. I'm very conscious that I'm a heroin addict. And I think about it. I remind myself consistently. You know, I don't ever deny it. I don't ever feel shame for it. I don't ever try to hide it. I know some people do. And if that works for you, great. But for me, if I try to do those, to like not acknowledge it and just, you know, pretend like I'm good and, I'm gonna live life all right, chances are I'm gonna go back to using. Like I said, the only thing that really keeps me sober right now is a memory at the end of the day. But that's not going to last forever. And eventually, if I don't find purpose or meaning, I'm going to be in that boat. And when I watched that Maniac show, that's when it really like occurred to me like holy shit, if you don't find something in life, you're going to die. Even though you're sober right now, like you're going to cave and you're never going to stop once you cave. So, that's why it's so hard to be sober because we don't have a purpose. I don't, a lot of us don't who are in that state. I know that when I was using a lot, I didn't, and I know now I feel like I don't. I feel like I lost it. I know many of you already know this, but I don't, I don't think anyone will ever understand the impact that she had on my life. I've never felt really loved in general, but let alone a love that was so unconditional. Nothing mattered between either of us. We loved each other for who we were, and we connected instantly. It was like, as stupid as it sounded, she was like my soulmate. It's crazy because I always thought all those things were fucking stupid and bullshit, and I still don't recommend relying on a person. I'm not gonna lie though, if she was still here, there's no doubt in my mind I'd never relapse for the rest of my life. No, I have a lot of doubt, and I need to find purpose. And so do you. Anybody watching this video, you know? Like that's the key. Or you probably will fail. Just like if I don't find something. And I don't know how soon it needs to be, but I gotta find a reason, a reason to live. If you don't, what's the point of being sober, right? Like, if you have no purpose, why the fuck are we here? And that's why it's so hard to be sober. I hope this video resonated with you in some way, and if you haven't seen the Netflix show Maniac, I would recommend checking it out. It might give you some perspective. It definitely opened my eyes to some things, you know. Maybe not really open my eyes, but just, yeah, open my eyes, I guess would be the way to say it. But video's a little longer than it should have been. I know most of you get bored after 10 minutes, but if you made it all the way to the end and any of this resonated with you, like I said, check out Maniac. It'd be really cool if you subscribe to the channel. I need 100 subs to change the channel name. The channel name is an old Xbox gamer tag. It's really shitty. You need 100 subs to change it. I just want to change my name, and I would like it to continue to grow so I can reach out and help other people. I really do think that my pain and what I've gone through in life and like my stories, like I never really talked about the depths of my addiction, and I think that that's gonna be like the next video. And is really showing you where I was because, you know, hearing if you heard my story, you would be amazed that I was alive. And I'm not talking about the story about me meeting Marissa and how great that was. I'm talking about like how fucking shit my life was for most of it and how heroin saved it. And I didn't stop for a long time. I didn't want to stop. And I want to use now more than ever. I don't have a purpose. But I'm trying to find one. And I suggest you do too. But like I said, if you made it to the end of this video, please subscribe. It would be great. I've rambled on about that. The rest of my socials you can find in the description. I really hope that it resonated with you, and I definitely would recommend checking out the show Maniac. Um, it really opened my eyes to the fact that I am living without meaning, without a reason, and eventually it's going to cause me to fail. You'll never get sober if you don't have a reason, so you got to find it. And it's also why it'll be so hard to stay sober. I don't know what the answer to that is because I can't answer it myself, but maybe I will one day. I'm Al Spanky, and this is another episode. And I just, I really appreciate the support that I've gotten from you guys, and it means a lot, that you guys listened, that stuff has resonated, like that's the only hope I get, those people that message me and thank me and you know, or are appreciative that I even try, because I don't know the cure all. I don't know how to fix everyone's pain, you know. There's no magic pill that just makes everything okay. And if there was, we'd never stop taking it, right? I mean, it's basically fucking heroin. You know, like that is what's the thing that makes everything okay. But like when you get off of it, it's not. And like, you know, the withdrawals are nasty and it's a cycle and you become a human that you hate at the end of the day. Like you know you don't like yourself. I know I hated myself. I was a fucking piece of shit at the end of the day. Like I was just a shitty human being. And sorry about bumping the mic, but I was just a really shitty human. And I'm sure I'm not trying to say that that's what you guys are, but that's what it made me because you know it took control. I was no longer Hank. Like I said, I used to, you know, I was heroin Hank. They say double H. They went together, you know, and that's who I was. That wasn't me though, you know. Like I'm not justifying what I did. I'm not justifying some of the shit choices I made. I'm not. That doesn't make it okay. But I know deep down that had I not been using heroin, I wouldn't have done it. But this video's gotten to the point where most of y'all won't even make it this far, so I'm just gonna end it here. Check out the show Maniac and subscribe if any of it resonated with you. I love y'all. I hope you have a good day. And message me for anything. Like that's really please. Give me, you know, if you want advice, if you want someone to listen, if you want to have a conversation, you know, I'm more than open to using Discord, making a server. I've talked about it before. If it's something that, you know, people really wanted, you know, like a safe place where we could all talk about where we're at or how hard it is or what's destroying us, you know. But finding at the same time finding a way to keep our sobriety or get there and help others along the way. So, but yeah, way too long of a video. Sorry about that. So I'm L Spanky signing out.